Yeah. Yeah. Hey, yeah. She sacrificed, she healed her heart. She evolved when it fell apart. She revealed the strength within. Now she obtains, she rises, wins. S.H.E.R.O. Let your story overflow. From the struggle to the glow. Welcome to the SHERO Spotlight.
Hello, welcome to SHERO Spotlight. If you're new to SHERO, welcome. If you're returning SHERO family, welcome back. We have another great episode in store for you today. As you know, Tina Turner sings the song, "What's Love Got to Do It?" But we're going to flip it. What's faith got to do it? Yeah. Today's guest, she's going to talk about her faith journey. We're going to have some good conversation. But before I get into that, I want to explain what SHERO Spotlight is for those of you who are new. SHERO, of course, is a female hero, but I have created a safe space for moms and expanded it to all women to be able to come to share their story of adversity and how they have overcome to empower and inspire others. SHERO stands for S is sacrifice, H is heal, E is evolve, R is reveal, O is obtain. And so today's guest, of course, she exemplifies this acronym. And so go ahead and introduce everyone to you, who you are, your kids, all that good stuff.
Okay. Hi, Alesha. Thank you so much for having me on this spotlight. I absolutely love your acronym. I believe in celebrating women. We go through so much. We sacrifice so much.
Yes,
we go through so much.
For sure.
And sometimes we do not have the outlet to inspire and encourage other women to live in their truth. I am Shanita Snowden. I have a beautiful daughter. Her name is Journey. She just turned 12 in November. Very intelligent. And when you talk to her, you would think that you're talking to a 40-year-old lady. I'm telling you. She just has this beautiful mind.
Right.
I have a Yorkie that I rescued almost a year ago. She's 2 years old. Her name is Gucci.
Okay, Gucci.
I have a boyfriend that is the love of my life.
Okay, love. Okay.
Yes, I am. Oh my God. And as far as my career, I have 20 plus years in healthcare administration. And I have a master's degree in business administration. And in March of 2026, I will have my Master of Science in forensic accounting.
Okay,
so I'm very excited about what God is doing in my life. And it is time for me to come forth with impact.
Yes,
so
I love
thank you
it.
For having
What a nice
me.
intro. Yes, I love it. Okay. So let's get right into it. So being a single mom comes with so many layers. What are some of the sacrifices you've made for your child along the way?
Yes, thank you for that question. So sacrifice for me, I have dealt with many health crises. I've dealt with mental stress and mental health issues with depression that come and go as it seems like it wants to.
Right.
Dealing with, I have autoimmune diseases. And one of them is Sjögren's, and I also have something what they call long COVID. I've had COVID 3 or 4 times.
Oh, wow.
And it causes extreme brain fog. And just knowing that as a mother, I still have to show up for her. I still have to sacrifice when I don't feel well and she wants to go to the mall. I get up and go. I think that communication with her, we have a really good way of talking to one another. We used to have all the time. We still have it, but we don't really call it. We used to have mommy-daughter time. Every night, she would come in my room at like 8 o'clock, and I would sacrifice my 2 or 3 hours where I want to be sleeping.
Right.
Just talking to her or playing games or popcorn, eating, just seeing what's on her mind. So I know that her safety, and her protection is going to come from me.
Right.
So I can't just wallow in when I want to be down, when I want to be sad, when I want to be mad, when I want to be frustrated. I can't let her see me in that many, not saying that I'm not real with it, because she has seen me in places where I'm talking to her And I say, Journey, I may be a little quiet today. Mommy's not feeling well. I'm feeling down. I'm feeling lonely. I'm in a long distance relationship. My boyfriend is in Atlanta. I'm here. He's a truck driver. So I go through those issues, and then dealing with the fact that her father is absent. So I have a lot of pressures, but I have a tremendous family tribe.
Yes,
like
that's important.
they just rally around me and pick up what I cannot handle.
Yes, definitely having a village is important to me too, being a single mom. But I think one of my struggles was in the beginning asking for help.
Sure, right.
You know, what was your, experience with that?
Oh my God. When you are a single mother, you divorced, and you see things, and some people can call it failure. I don't call it failure. I call it growth. So there's been times where I struggle with finances. I don't have help. I can't get assistance. I make too much money. But the money I have, it seems like it's always spent on health, bills, my daughter. And the little bit I do have that I can save, So I've had to go to my parents for help. And here recently, maybe about 4 or 5 months ago, I was facing an eviction. And just think that after my divorce, I went and stayed with my parents. I was with them for 7 years after my divorce, just because I went through so much. And you think that, it's just a divorce, you're going to be okay. No, you go through a lot.
Yes, you do.
You had to sell a home. He's gone. He remarried, moved, and left me alone, So I stayed with my parents for 7 years. And then I had an opportunity. I said, you know what? It's time for me to get out of here. I want to raise my daughter under my roof, not really saying, okay, my parents, they have a different way of disciplining. I am a gentle parenter, and my dad used to be a corrections officer in a youth corrections facility. So he's a little bit more militant. I'm not. So I moved out and got my own little townhouse with me and her. But everything was going good until maybe the first quarter of this year. And I got to a place, I went on vacation, and I had a little bit of money in my pocket. And I felt like, I just want to spend this money, I'll get it back. But when I got back home, some other things built up, and it was to the point I didn't have the money to pay my rent. And so I'm facing eviction. And so my parents were like, Shanita, I think that you need to come back home. And I'm like, no, I can handle it. So I waited. I was able to get the money. I, went through a couple more months, and then here I am facing a total hysterectomy. And my dad called again. And he said, Shanita, I really think you need to think about this. You come back home, you'll be able to heal. You'll be able to have protection and help with Journey and your dog.
For sure.
And you can start over. There's nothing wrong with that. But I felt like a failure in that moment. I cried and cried and cried until it was like the Lord just was like, Shanita, wake up. Who are you living for? And so I told him, I said, okay, I'm coming home. And I had my surgery. I stayed with them for like 5 days. And within 4 days, I had moved out of my townhome. And the only way I knew that this was God's plan for me was that I told my dad, I said, if they let me out of my lease, I will know that this is God. And I called them, and I was honest, and I said, I'm having some medical issues. I need to move back home. And they said, oh, it's okay. You don't have to worry about buyout. You don't have to worry about finding someone to take over your lease. It's okay.
So you knew.
I said, God, well, thank you. And so I moved back home. And at one moment, I was like, I don't want to tell nobody I'm home. But no, this is smart.
Yes. Save your coins, sis.
and what blessed me as well is my daughter told me just maybe some weeks ago, she said, Mom, are you happy here? And I said, I am. And she said, I am too. And so having help is a blessing.
It is.
It's not a curse. Like, utilize it when you need it. You know, and sometimes some people don't have that support, but I thank God that I do.
Yeah, me too. It's just like, I'm so grateful for my parents, having good parents who are also stable, because everybody don't have that. So I always say to myself, if things don't go well, I know I can always move back home.
And that's one thing my mother...
But it is the last resort, though.
Yes. That is what my mother has always said. You always have a home to come to.
And our room is the same.
Well, mine wasn't, but...
No, mine's pretty much the same.
Okay, wow.
But it's interesting, though, because when I do go back home, I feel like that little girl again, and I feel safe. Because everybody around my household is family. They live in my neighborhood is family, cousins, aunties, and stuff like that. So it's just a safe space. You just feel good. You feel like you just let everything go there and at peace.
Right.
And so
I'm there as well to help them. My mother is disabled. My dad is disabled. You know, he has more strength than my mom does, but I feel helpful there as well.
Yeah, so nothing wrong with coming back home, girl.
With it.
When your daughter reflects on your life one day, what do you hope she remembers most about you as a mom and as a woman?
Wow. I feel that one thing that my daughter has always told me, she said, Mom, I can always count on you for the truth. I'm not going to sugarcoat anything for her. I feel that I have probably over communicated certain things for her, especially when it comes to the situations with her dad. I kind of told her, no, he doesn't pay child support. I just felt like the more I told her that she would understand it.
Right.
However, that was putting her in a place where it was just too much information for her to be responsible for. But what I will say is that I want her to know that, and this is something I preach to her all the time. I say, you cannot go wrong when you tell the truth.
Right.
And when people see me, I want you to see truth. I don't sugarcoat. I used to. I can be brutally honest with people. So if you ask me my opinion or you come to me for advice, it's going to be off the cuff, no fluff. It's just going to be straight as it is. And so that's one thing I feel that I would love for her to exemplify out of my life. Right. Is that to be truthful. And that's also rooted and grounded in our faith as well.
Yeah, for sure. And that's a good transition when you talk about truth, because your story of deliverance from lying and having a facade, can you share a little bit more about that?
Sure. So as growing up, we lived in a neighborhood that wasn't the best. There were kids that, we went to school with, and they were bullying my sister or they bullied me. And I wasn't going to go for that. So I would either fight back or I would bully back. And I always knew in my heart, because I was raised in church almost every weekend. Although we lived in Raleigh, my grandparents lived in Scotland Neck, North Carolina. And we would go almost every weekend that they had church. My grandmother was taking me and my sister Sunday school and church.
Right.
And I always knew that there was a God. I always knew I was different, but I didn't want to appear different than my peers. So when I went to school, I lived around people who fought, who cursed. That was normal. And so when I went to school, I emulated what they were. And I knew that wasn't me.
Right.
I lied, growing up as a teenager, even in my early 20s. I see people that are dating and I don't date. I'm in church all the time. And I just felt like, I'm going around here telling people lies about a lifestyle that I don't live. And I wasn't free. And I went to a youth rally one night, and the pastor up there, he said, the devil has come to steal your innocence. And when he said that to me, it was like a ton of bricks hit me in the head. And I'm like, oh my God, I am innocent. So I said, I've got to stop this. So I had to go. I said, God, how do I handle this? I've told my sister lies. I've told my parents lies about a lifestyle that I don't live. And he said, go to them and tell them. They're going to understand. So I pulled them into a room and I just started to regurgitate all these lies that I had told them. And one of the craziest things was that my sister said, oh, okay. And I was like, what? So my mama said, oh, thank God. And I'm sitting here scared, but that was my deliverance moment. And it was like God said, you don't have to tell anybody else. You're just free now. And from that point on, Alesha, when I tell you, I have been sometimes it's hard for me to lie. It really is. I'm not saying that I can't steal, but it's it's not something that feels good to me to do that. So I'm probably more truthful than some people probably would want to be, but I couldn't live that life of a lie. And ever since he delivered me, I've walked in truth.
Awesome. Yeah. So it's like taking off that mask and being the real you.
Right.
I love to see that. And when we talk about healing from our past hurts, you do want to share when you were younger, you were sexually assaulted or molested when you were younger. Can you share a little bit more about that experience and how healing and forgiveness have come?
Sure. And I'll try to make this real short and sweet because it's years. But I was, along with another family member of mine, really close family member, was molested by another family member. And even in that moment when it first happened, I went and told my grandmother, and we confronted him and his grandmother, which was my grandmother's sister. And she denied it off cuff that, no, he didn't do that. And I'm like, yes, he did. So this continued for years. However, the way that I saw this, and this is a trick of the enemy, the way that I saw this was that the way he molested me versus how he molested my other family member was totally different. And it was like I wanted to be the other family member. I wanted to be touched in that way because I felt like the way that he came off at me was, you just look at me and you get aroused just with my presence. But my other family member, it's like you wanted her body. Why don't you want mine? And that was such a crooked viewpoint, and it skewed the way that I saw men. So when I was in school, it was like I hung with dudes. I was like, I really don't want to be your girlfriend, just your homegirl, And then even when I got into I started working in workforce, I saw men as a toy, and I played with them. Not that you can't get my goods because I'm not going to have sex with you, but I'll play with you because somebody played with me, and it was something that I wanted from him, but he wouldn't give that to me. So I'll just play with you and get you aroused, but then tell you no.
That's deep.
No, I don't want to do that. Until one day it almost cost me, almost being sexually assaulted again. And I started thinking, and my sister said, Shanita, you need to stop doing that to those men. Like, you're going to get hurt. And so I listened to that, and just knowing that through my truth, through me revealing the fact and being delivered from lying, all of that just kind of culminated together. And it was like, I do have option over who I give my body to. And I don't need to play with anyone's feelings because I don't want my feelings played with. Right. So, the molestation went on for years, like I stated. But I chose to see it in a different way because it was actually changing who I was and then causing this mental battle with myself. That the devil put that on me. Like, that was not my identity. And so that's basically how I dealt with it. And I just stayed in church and I talked about it. And I was able to, again, after I got delivered from lying, I had to tell my family that this happened. And then I found out that family member that molested me, his father did the same thing to my family members. And so it was a cult, like a family curse thing, And I want to break those cycles.
Yes, for sure.
I don't want my daughter in those cycles, so that's a part of my mission with her as well.
Yeah. So I like how you've talked through that and worked through that and been to therapy and things like that because it does really impact people's mental health. Yes. I've worked with people of child abuse and molestation, and a lot of times they think it's their fault.
Yeah.
And getting through that part is key. And then, then helping them to forgive, and forgive not the person necessarily, just more so forgiving themselves as well, because usually they're upset with themselves or allowing it and things like that, or like I said, or thinking it's their fault. And I always have to tell them, you will find your peace walking in that forgiveness journey.
Yes.
It doesn't mean you have to forget it happened, but you don't want to stay victim to that. You want to be the victor and overcome it, and you got to work through it. As hard as it is, because it is painful. Yes. But knowing that it's not your fault. That's the key. It's not your fault.
And this is a family member that we would normally see, even after the molestation, and we've grown up, and he's married and got kids, and I was married and got kids. But yeah, when you are delivered from something, when you're healed from something, the trauma doesn't hit you the same way anymore. And then especially when you have faith and it's grounded and it's deeply rooted, and you have a relationship with God where it's me and God. I'm God's daughter. He cares a lot about me, a lot, that he died. So, there's nothing that can stop me when you look at life that way.
No weapon formed against you shall prosper.
That's right.
And when it comes to evolving into what God wants you to be, you were married after knowing your ex-spouse for 9 months, but you saw red flags, but married him too. So share that a little bit more about that journey and what advice you can give women, because sometimes we see the red flags. I saw the red flags when I was dating my ex, but I continued on.
That was something. So I told you in our interview that there's one thing that I know when God tickles me. That's what I call him. I say he tickles me when he gives me a vision for something. And I told my friends, I said, I'm going to be married next year. I didn't even have the man yet. But I just knew in my
manifestation,
spirit
that's what I'm talking about.
It was coming.
Right.
And so I met him online and just a charmer. Just a charmer. But red flag, number one, was I told him we had met online, like I stated, and we talked online for about a couple of days. And he said, oh my God, I really want to talk to you on the phone. And I said, well, okay, I'll give you my phone number, but I'm about to go to choir rehearsal. Do not call me until I call you tonight. Red flag number one, what happens? He calls me while I'm in choir rehearsal. And I'm like, I told you don't call me, And so I started kind of seeing those patterns where it wasn't about what I wanted. It was about what he wanted. And so as we courted, we dated for 9 months. But after 3 months, he proposed to me, in which that wasn't even right because he wanted it so bad. We went into Zales one day and I paid for half of my ring. And he was like, oh, I'm going to get, I'm going to get the rest of
flag
it.
Number 2. No,
flag.
Flag on the play. No, go ahead.
So, because he even took me to the jewelry store and was like, babe, can you pick out the set you want? And I picked it out. He was like, oh, that's too much money. And I was like, okay. But so, yeah, he proposed in 3 months. And I saw right away, I felt in my heart that this was his story that he was writing. And I was just on for the ride because he was a pastor, or he was assistant pastor, and of this small church. They were Jewish. I'm a Christian. But the number one thing when we dated, I said, do you believe that Jesus Christ died for our sins and are you saved? And he told me yes. And he said, we just don't do holidays and we keep the 10 Commandments. And I was like, oh, at the time, I'm like, okay, well, I do that too. So I didn't really see any issue with it. But there were problems. He was very broken as we dated, as we got married. It was things that I saw, red flags, where he had, he was in a previous relationship, a marriage, where he has 2 kids with his ex-wife. And there would be so many altercations with her where he would bring me in to solve the issue. I ain't talking to you. You want to talk to her? And I get on the phone and I'm having battles with the ex-wife and I don't even know what this is about. Right. And so we worked through a lot. We ended up buying a home and it just seemed so perfect. And so one day I was breastfeeding my daughter and nothing was going on. I was extremely happy in my home. And I heard God tell me, you're going to have to leave this man. And I was like, I looked at him, what? Yes, you're going to have to leave him. You're going to divorce him, but I'm going to bring y'all back together. Now, I don't know about that part in, but all I know is within 3 years, I walked right out of that marriage because this man put me up against his pastor, their family, because he said that the pastor was his spiritual father and his spiritual mother and his spiritual sisters and brothers, but you don't have any relationship with your immediate family. That's another red flag.
Right.
You don't have any friends that come around. Flag number 4. So now you are hanging on to these spiritual people, your spiritual family, and you don't care nothing about me. And so as we went through this church and everything, I'm very vocal about how I feel when I feel like something isn't right.
Right.
So we were tithing at this small church that's inside of a home. They have one light bill, one water bill. So I'm asking him, how are they divvying up? And it seems like we're the only ones tithing.
Right.
So I went and he said, well, if you want to ask him about it, you can ask him. Why you put me up against your pastor?
Right.
But okay. I went, I had a meeting, and I sat down and they couldn't explain it. So I said, I'm not coming back here. I'm going to go back to my church, which was Way Chapel. And from then on, he told me that night, you are no longer my wife. Because he said, what God has joined together, you let no man put asunder. I said, you're letting a man put asunder. So there was a lot of signs of, back then, there wasn't a lot of talk about narcissism. It wasn't a lot of talk about mental health issues. It started to emerge. And then I found a book about narcissism. And he checked every box, Alesha, every box. I was isolated. You talk about the R word, even in marriage, it happens. You feel like you still have to, I don't know how open I can be with my words.
You good. Okay.
You may not want to be intimate every night, but he forces me to do that anyway. It was a horrible place to be. And I slang oil. I prayed. I was like, God, I was speaking to demons and I'm calling him Leviathan. And I'm, I just thought he was a demon. I said, now I should be able to cast this demon out. But God said, Shanita, what your husband has is pride. And there is nothing you can do with a prideful man. But that's a work for me and him. That's why you have to go.
You have to give him to God. And
I had to walk out, Alesha.
Yeah.
And he sat on that couch and watched me get my baby, get all of our stuff out of that house as much as I could. And my dad picked me up. And he actually spit in my face one day.
Oh, wow.
And so when you've been down that road, it hurts so bad. So bad, yeah. But that's why I wrote Mirror Games. And it's a book. It's not a tell-all book. It's not juicy about what he and I necessarily went through. Right. But, it's about looking in that mirror, looking at yourself. And I couldn't stay there. Right. And I didn't want my daughter being raised in that environment, nor did I want my stepkids seeing that, so.
Yeah. So, again, it's just God gives us windows to leave, and that was even with my marriage. I had a unhealthy marriage. And I would pray a lot too, and kind of the same thing, just felt it was, evil spirit and things of that nature. And then I just had to really pray to God. It's like, God, give me the signs if I need to go, because I was taught, my parents been together for over 50 years, you stay in there. And I just realized like, no. And God was showing me signs that you got to go and you have to be obedient. And I'm glad I was obedient, because I didn't, it was very hard going through divorce. Divorce is like a death, and like you said, you can view it as failure too. And I think for me, I viewed it as failure, and I beat myself up for a very long time about it. But then I had to find forgiveness for myself. And that's when my healing began. And that's kind of what everything, and I don't look back at all, but there were signs. And that's why I say, again, you got to follow God. You got to listen to God. I do take ownership, accountability. Hey, I made the choice. And so, and he was not the right choice. But also I learned things too. Every relationship, I look at it as lessons learned.
Yes.
And I learn things about myself because I'm a natural helper, and I ain't doing that no more now. Right. You got to have it. Potential is just potential. Now you got to have it at this grown age, you know, and those type of things. So I learned a lot of things about myself, you know, in that situation. And so what things did you learn about yourself?
I learned, for one, not to marry a science project. You know, when I married him, I felt like he was coming into a community of people that was about love and was going to show him love. But when I realized that's not what he was looking for, he's looking for validation. And that validation was only going to come from his pastor. And so it's really, when you look at life, you're like, either you're going to sit here and be victim, or you're going to celebrate your victory.
Right, exactly.
And so it took a lot. I went through counseling before we actually even divorced. And I had to accept accountability for how I treated him. I called him really terrible names. You know, and I mean, this was even when stuff was okay. It's, oh, you stupid. And, you know, I called him all kinds of names, and I would leave just when he made me mad. And my pastor said, Shanita, you can't continue to do this dance. You need to figure out what you're going to do and stand on it.
Right.
And that's what I had to do.
Yeah.
You know, and so when you talk about just evolving, you look at everything you've been through and every lesson learned, and it culminates to a point where you say, what am I about? And when I look in the mirror, I want to be proud of what I look at.
Like, who are you? Yeah, you got to know who you are and stand in it. Yes.
And it's like, when I've gotten to the point now that I'm so real with myself that nothing scares me much. So it's, even at work, if there's projects to be done, I'm not afraid to tackle them. I'm going to go ask for help if I don't know how to do it. Right. Out here in the world, same thing. I'm not going to let anyone intimidate me and keep me back from prospering. Right. Yeah. And also being impactful in my community as well.
Right. Yes, for sure. So ladies, learn from us. Pay attention to the signs. If they red, do not pass go. Okay.
Right. Do not, number one, do not, he doesn't have to have it all together.
Right.
But there are some things that should be in line.
Right.
And you should be aligned with it as well.
Right. Now, last question. As you look at your life today, how does faith continue to guide you, especially when it comes to pursuing your goals, motherhood, and overall happiness, which I extend that to basically joy?
Sure. So all of that actually leads up to what I call my conglomerate. I'm a serial business owner. So I have my conglomerate's what I call the Real Effect HQ.
Right.
And it's real effect means that I'm coming at you real. Doesn't matter whether it's a conversation, whether it's the work I do, whether it's the way I show up in my community, the way I am in my home, my integrity. All of that matters. So I give that back to other people. Right. So through that, giving became just like my moniker. I went to a women's conference a couple of months ago, and the speaker talked about the revolutionary love model. And one of them was, how do you see strangers? And because the other two I had on lock as far as how I saw myself and how I dealt with my opponents. But when it came to strangers, I had this thing with homeless people. I was afraid of, not really afraid, but just really like when
judging.
Yes. When people come to my window, I'm like, oh no, I don't have any money. Don't ask me nothing. And so when I went through my issue with eviction and I thought about that thing, I said, I'm like a paycheck away from being where these people are if I didn't have, support. And so I learned about that, and I went to Walmart. This was maybe like 3 days after I learned about this, about the revolutionary love model. Went to Walmart, and there's a guy sitting out in front, and he's homeless. And ma'am, do you have any money? I said, no, I don't have any money. And immediately, God convicted me of what I learned. And I said, wait a minute. And I went back, and I said, sir, I don't have any cash on me. I said, however, would you like for me to buy you lunch? He said, oh, yes, I'm hungry. And I said, what do you want? I said, a Chick-fil-A right there. And he said, a chicken sandwich and a Coke. And I said, okay. So I went to Chick-fil-A. I got him the whole combo, even value sized it. Got him his little sauces and stuff. And so after I got that, when I went back, I said, now how am I going to give him this food? So I said, I'm going to just drive up and give it to him out the window. God said, no, you're not going to do that. You're going to park your car and you're going to serve this man.
Servitude.
Yep. So I got out and I walked up to him and I said, hey, sir. And there was another lady there. And she said, oh, my God, did you bring him lunch? And I said, yes, ma'am. And she said, oh, my God. She said, I was getting ready to do that, too. And she said, man, you see this woman? That's God. That's what God does for you. And he said, yeah, I know. And so I gave him his food and I said, is there anything else that you need? He said, I need some socks and shoes. Oh. So the lady said, well, I'll go take care of that. But ever since that situation, Alesha, it's been like, I just want to find a way to help somebody. Yes. Because I have been helped, girl. Yes. I have been set free. I am free to be who I am. Even how I communicate with people. I used to want to be a part of chaos. Like, I was okay with confronting people. I still am. But
he's still working on you, right?
Right. It's just the way that you are able to handle people. And it's to the point now that when I think about all that I am and everything that I aspire to be, it is about realness. Yes. And it's about helping the next person. Not allowing these women to go out here and, you know, you're marrying or you're with someone that you already know more than likely is not treating you the best way. But you're going to continue on because you're believing in God. But God is like, no, you have a responsibility to learn of my ways, learn who you are, and then see another person as they need help and maybe it's not for you. You know, but don't get yourself into a situation where it's going to even cost you your health or your life to get out.
Right. Amen to that. So thank you, Shanita, so much for coming on SHERO Spotlight. I want you to know that you are a SHERO. You sacrificing for your child, healing from your past hurts, evolving into what God wants you to be. Sat here today, revealed your truth, and out here obtaining your goals and happiness. I just want you to keep going, sis. You are out here living by faith, and I know that God has so much more in store for you.
Thank you for having me, Alesha.
You're welcome. And make sure you all tune in to the next episode of SHERO Spotlight.
The SHERO